Welcome to this week's snippet. This is where we get down and dirty on a specific topic. And this week's topic, what's the difference between a gene and an enzyme? I'm Dr. Ben Lynch, and this is the Dirty Genes Podcast. Maybe you've heard the term gene and enzyme interchangeably. Maybe you've wondered what they are. Maybe you don't care. But it's important that I do shed the light on this because I use the term gene a lot and I use the term enzyme a lot. And you're going to be reading these a lot as well, because if you are reading Dirty Genes or you're studying epigenetics and you want to improve your own health by improving your own choices, then you should know the difference. And basically, the difference is very simple. A gene makes your enzymes. Enzymes do not make genes. The blueprint for your enzymes is determined by your gene. So if you've inherited a gene from your mom and your dad, and you have, and there's a specific blueprint for that gene, once that gene prints out the enzyme, then it's that enzyme that actually goes off and does the work. When you go to the doctor and they check your liver enzymes, and your liver enzymes are elevated, then what does that mean? That means your genes in your liver, i.e. your liver genes, are dirty, and they are actually increasing in function because you've done something to your liver to increase the demand for those liver genes to produce more liver enzymes. So when your doctor orders your liver enzymes panel, that's because they want to see how your liver is performing. And if they see that your liver enzymes are higher, that's actually showing you that your genes are dirty in your body and your liver genes are increasing in function in order to offset the problems that are occurring. So the enzymes are increasing in order to deal with a problem, maybe alcohol, right? So a common reason for liver enzymes to be elevated is because of alcohol ingestion. And alcohol is a toxin. It's a nasty chemical toxin. And in order to get rid of that alcohol and the components of alcohol, like aldehydes, your genes have to produce enzymes to get rid of all that. So you're putting more work on your genes to print out a bunch of enzymes so these enzymes can get rid of the alcohol and the aldehydes. So if you stop drinking the alcohol, the genes don't get triggered as much because there's not so much work to do. The alcohol is not in your blood anymore. And so the genes go, oh, there's not much alcohol. We don't need to go to work. That said, your liver genes are not producing the liver enzymes. And what happens? Your liver enzymes, according to your doctor, return to quote unquote normal, meaning that your genes are not producing a high amount of enzymes. So anytime you are seeing something on your lab, it is most likely because your genes are either responding to make an enzyme or your genes are unable to make an enzyme. You're going to look at a lab report in a different way. Now you're going to look at your liver enzymes from the doctor and you're like, okay, my liver enzymes are elevated. That means my liver genes are dirty. It means I need to clean them up. And yes, I've been drinking alcohol. Yes, I've been consuming too much carbohydrate. Yes, I've been overeating. Yes, I haven't been exercising. Yes, blah, 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 blah. And so I need to clean up those particular genes. And so my genes don't have to work as hard. And then my enzymes are being printed out as high levels. And then they'll return to a baseline normal at rest. So if you've inherited genes, which are your blueprints for producing your enzymes, what if you've inherited a genetic variant in your MTHFR gene or any gene that is slightly different than someone else's? So for example, I have the MTHFR gene and I've inherited the MTHFR gene to be slightly different than other people's. My MTHFR gene has 2 misspellings in it, 2 changes in the blueprint, and that 2 changes in my blueprint, when that MTHFR gene makes the MTHFR enzyme, my enzyme isn't that responsive as someone else's. It's not as responsive in higher temperatures. It is not as responsive in low riboflavin environments. It just doesn't work very well. So I need to be mindful of temperature that I'm exposing myself to. And I love sauna. So sauna might be actually harming the function of my MTHFR enzyme. But if I'm supporting my MTHFR enzyme with sufficient riboflavin, that's okay. So you need to understand that whatever genes that you've inherited from your mom and your dad, and those genes are producing certain enzymes, it's that genetic variation which causes the enzymatic variation in terms of its shape and thus its function, because shape determines function in the human body. If your enzyme is shaped like my hand holding a pencil and you throw me a ball to catch, I'm not going to be able to catch that ball. It can write, but it can't catch a ball. So if my MTHFR enzyme is shaped slightly different in the area where riboflavin is supposed to attach, and if riboflavin attaches to my MTHFR enzyme in order to function, but that area where that happens is not very clean. Maybe there's a couple thorns stuck in there. Maybe the shape is a bit different. Maybe it's a key that you got to jiggle in the lock and it's not quite good, right? So all these different things. So that vitamin B2, I have to have in higher amounts, and then my MTHFR enzyme will work better because of that genetic variation that occurred. So in short, the difference between a gene and an enzyme is genes are the blueprint to make your enzymes, and your genes produce enzymes which are actually doing the work, and it's the epigenetics that you are doing in your life, the lifestyle choices, the foods, the environments that you're around, the vitamins that you take or you don't take, the medicines that you take or you don't take, that are affecting how those enzymes are performing. You start getting symptoms when you are putting a huge load on your genes to produce a high amount of enzymes in order to deal with a problem. And the flip side is also true. You're also putting a burden on your body when you are not putting enough pressure on certain other genes because you don't have the tools available for them to get to work. So for example, if you want to make dopamine in your brain so you can focus and pay attention and have a good mood, your genes are there to provide that ability for you. And so when somebody gives you a hug, dopamine can get stimulated to be produced. And so the dopamine producing genes get to work to make the dopamine producing enzymes. But if those dopamine producing enzymes don't have the ingredients or the tools at hand in order to do that, you don't get any dopamine. Your moods are flat. Your focus is garbage. Your concentration isn't good. Your learning ability isn't good. And so then you go to the doctor and you're like, Doc, my focus sucks. My concentration sucks. My ability to learn isn't good. They're saying I have learning difficulties and what do I need to do? And the doctor can put you on some medications to increase dopamine, like methamphetamines, or they can say, well, tell me about your diet. What's your diet? Oh, I've just been following the ketogenic diet lately because, I really want to try that out, and intermittent fasting, and it's been really helping other people out, so I give it a shot. Well, how much fat are you eating? Well, obviously it's keto, so I'm eating mostly fat. How much protein are you eating? Hardly any, because that takes me out of ketosis. Okay, so if you're not eating very much protein, then you're not making your dopamine. What do you mean? Well, in order to make dopamine, your enzyme actually needs to have tyrosine, because tyrosine is the compound that it uses in order to convert tyrosine to L-DOPA, which in the L-DOPA gets converted to dopamine. Oh, so you're saying if I don't consume enough protein, my COMT genes, even if they are printing the COMT enzymes to produce dopamine, if I'm not eating enough protein, my ability to make dopamine is bad? Exactly. If you have the ability to make a dopamine, and we all do, you have to have the ingredients in your body in order to make dopamine. If your genes print out the enzymes to produce something, but you don't give them the ingredients to produce it, your enzymes don't work. That simple. So if you've inherited specific genes that have genetic variants and you're all nervous about that, don't forget that the genes are making the enzymes, But whatever the enzymes have available to them, that's what they use. And so if my MTHFR variant is 70% less responsive, I know what I need to do in my life, and that is consume more riboflavin and be careful with how much protein I eat and make sure I'm consuming sufficient levels of folate and avoiding folic acid. So your genes are your blueprint. The blueprints of your genes print your enzymes, and it's your enzymes that do the work. But your enzymes cannot do the work unless you do the work. So don't forget that you need to do the work so your enzymes can perform for you. And if they perform for you, you're performing and you're feeling optimal. Take care.